It's a really neat little area.
I'll introduce you.
Yeah.
Take my seat at the.
And then you're okay. I'll just.
Make a motion and I'll. I knew I could do something else. No problem. Everyone, it's a little after 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. I appreciate everyone joining us this evening. I know we've taken a lot of your time. I see a lot of familiar faces. Actually, I don't think there's anyone here I don't know at this point, which is a good thing. So again, welcome. I know you might remember from yesterday, but this is our planning team that has now spent 3 hardworking days here in Terrell. This is Irene Tyson. She's an architect from Columbia-based Boudreaux Group and the team leader. This is Rick McMacken. He's a landscape architect from Land Plan South in Columbia. This is Olivia Etheridge. She's also a landscape architect. And together they've made some wonderful renderings that we'll be seeing tonight. Yes. So, okay. And then this is Fred Delk, who for 30 years was the director of the Columbia Community Development Corporation and has worked on a number of tax credit revitalization projects. He really is an expert when it comes to working with old buildings and making them financially viable. So this really is an expert team that we've assembled thanks to input from the community and thanks to their efforts. I think we have a good draft master plan going. Now remember that this is a draft and there will be a final product that will be delivered, and I hope some good things will be coming out of it. One thing I will do again, if you haven't already taken the survey that we sent out in an email a couple days ago, please take a few minutes to take that survey. I'll be resending it out in a community-wide email probably tomorrow morning, along with a link to the video. We are live streaming it right now, and we'll have a link to that video, so you can watch it again if you really want to. But I don't think I missed anything. Without any more delay, I'll turn it over to Irene, and we'll get started. So thank you again.
Great. Thank y'all very, very much. I will say, I think I'm speaking for the entire team, that we have had a lot of fun being here. It's just such a charming place, and y'all have been so warm and gracious. And so thank you very, very much for making us feel at home and for everything that y'all have done to help shape this. So as Rob said, this is very much a draft form. We've been doing a charrette. Charrette is just a great design workshop. I have a professor who used to call it an illustrated brainstorm. And so that's kind of what this is, but we've had a great time doing it. So I hope y'all will see some of your ideas in what we are presenting. Again, we've got a lot more that we're going to be putting together, but hope that this will give y'all kind of a gist of what what we think that y'all can do, when focusing on downtown to do it. I think, first of all, though, we want to really congratulate the town for a few things. First of all, you've made it through COVID, okay. We're still dealing with it, but it's nice to see. I know the town is like so many other towns, has taken a huge hit financially, and, you know, jobs and just lives disrupted, but y'all appear to really have come through that okay, which I think is great. And Stan, you've got some strong businesses that are going to come through. I think also the fact that, first of all, the town hired Rob. That's been a really good thing. We've really enjoyed working with Rob. To me, I mean, great leadership, but what Rob has been doing here has really and truly been fantastic. And also the fact that the town has committed to the Main Street program. And if you're not familiar, I mean, are all of you familiar with what the Main Street program is? Okay, so, and if you're not, you know, it comes out of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, but it's been around for 40 years now, and has been a way to turn around historic downtowns. And so for Sherrod to make that commitment and that investment in the Main Street program, we think is wonderful. We think that the town needs to really work the plan now, which is going to fall on Rob's shoulders. So we're hoping that he's going to have a little bit more time to really work that. One thing I do want to say about the Main Street approach, it's got 4, and we'll talk about a little bit more, but it's 4 areas with design and promotions, economic development, and economic restructuring. Yeah, economic restructuring. But it requires the downtown and the community to get involved. It's all about community leadership and volunteers. So Rob is director of it. It's going to be up to all of you and lots of others to really make it work. So that is great. The other thing that we want to applaud the town on is getting Spring Hill Suites to come here. That was a long-term invest time, you know, really working that and making that investment. And we think it's wonderful, and it's obvious after being with y'all for the past couple of days that everyone has great hope in what is going to happen when the doors of that hotel open. So let's see if we can go ahead and go there. So anyway, so the town is to be applauded for that. One of the things, and I'm not going to read all these for you, y'all can read them up here, but these are the words that y'all shared with us over the past 2 days when we asked you what one word that comes to mind when you think about Sherrod. They're not all positive, but I would say they're all pretty hopeful that, you know, you've got some room to improve here. So those were the words that we heard from y'all. And then the next one that I want to move on to, last night we asked the group, and several of y'all were part of that you will know that this master plan works in downtown, and it's going to be successful in 1 year if. And so these are really kind of some very good vision statements. You know, a master plan is a living document. It is a framework for y'all to start working and making some really great things happen, to really turn around downtown. Our hope is that a year from now, you're gonna have some great successes, and then we're gonna have to start come back and update it because you've had some successes. And successes also bring other dynamics to there. So a year from now, there may be another hotel wanting to open up or another great restaurant. There might be something really that is going to cause y'all to say, oh, we need to kind of regroup and go in another direction. But we heard over and over again, you want downtown to flourish. You want to have a variety of businesses there, a variety of restaurants there. You want to be able to buy what you want to buy at the times when you can shop downtown too. So that's when you're able to do that, it's going to be great. You want the buildings to really reflect what Sherrod's all about. You want them to be renovated. You want them to be full of thriving businesses. And so we agreed last night, all right, let's just put it out there. A year from now, 7 buildings renovated and have thriving businesses in them. If it's 5, that's okay. But this is, again, it's a goal, it's a vision for y'all to reach for, to do that. And I would say, and Fred's going to talk about this a lot more later on, in order for all this to happen, it's got to be the public and the sector and the private sector coming together, period. That is the only way that this is going to happen and the only way that it's going to be sustained. Okay, we can go to the next one. So I'm going to tell you a tale of two downtowns, all right? We go on to the next one. So again, y'all have landed the Golden Goose. You've got Spring Hill Suites coming right there at the end of Market Street. You've got two ways to really think about this Golden Goose. You can either sit here and wait on that Golden Goose to lay its golden egg and open the doors, or you can start working to get ready for that Golden Goose so that you're ready to accept and do something with that golden egg when the egg is raised. We go to the next one. One of my favorite movies is Apollo 13. I don't know if any of y'all like that movie. Well, my favorite scene in the movie is when they say, Houston, we have a problem. And we know we got a problem. Y'all are kind of there. Y'all know you've got a problem. You've got way too many empty buildings and dilapidated kind of rundown buildings in downtown. You need some new businesses, right? So we know we've got a little problem here. The next thing, what I love about the next scene and how they solve that, if y'all remember, all right, so they know they have a problem. They've identified what the problem is, but they're a gazillion miles up in space. So they get the astronauts just to go in there and take everything that they have. And so and they replicate that down in Houston. So they go get all these things and dump it on a table and tell all the engineers, okay, fix it. This is what we have. So let's figure out how to get our astronauts safely home. And I think that's kind of like what Sherrall is right now. You've got this problem. You have got what it takes to turn around downtown, period, and to get ready for the Golden Goose and that egg. You've got it. You just got to recognize it. So we can go to the next one now, Rob. We believe that Market Street is critical. The redevelopment of Market Street is critical to get ready for this hotel. We think that the BC Moore building at the end of this street is critical to the success of this hotel and getting ready. And we'll talk about just a little, we go to the next one. I mean, it's great, but it's shuttered. So what I want to talk to you about is like this tale of two downtowns. You've got Spring Hill Suites, 104 rooms. If they're operating at 50%, which they're going to need to do in order to be profitable, you're going to have 52 people, let's say on average, every single night walking downtown, staying downtown. So take me as a case study for this. So I'm a professional woman. I do a lot of traveling. I stay at hotels by myself. I'm in towns by myself. But I will have to tell you, if I go into Spring Hill Suites a year from now, and I'm staying in downtown Sherrall, and I've never been here before, let's see, Rob, let's go to the next one here. And maybe it's Christmas. You can put up a Christmas tree and all the lights, but if I walk out of the door, and we went down Market Street last night, and a couple of nights ago, and I walk out those doors, and it's dark. And there's nothing on Market Street. There's one restaurant right across the street, but there's nothing else that is compelling me and makes me feel safe about walking up to Market Street to go to 2nd Street and to some others. Does anybody understand what I'm talking about? Sherrall is a great little town, but if I'm coming in here and I know nothing, and there's no life on that street, I'm not going to be having a great experience, and that's not going to be good for the downtown. That's why we feel that Market Street is so critical to really focus a lot of efforts on here, public-private. Here we go to the next one. Also, we've heard you've got these amazing historic buildings in downtown, just stunning. I mean, we know of very few towns that have what you have when it comes to your historic buildings. These historic buildings define who you are. They give the character and the heart and the soul there. They have to be maintained. They have to be renovated. They have to be cared for. Because if they're not, and if you tear them down, we can go back to, Joan Baez, you can tear it all down and put up a parking lot, right? That's not what you want. Because there are plenty of communities out there who haven't maintained their buildings and who demolish historic infrastructure and the buildings that give them character, and they just look like any old place across the country. So we can go to the next one. Or you can get ready for this Golden Goose. You can say, we're going to come together as a community on the private side and the public side, and we are going to be ready when those doors open to accept and welcome and just show everybody who stays there what they can do and make them feel safe. Does that mean that you've got to have every single building occupied and renovated a year from now when that hotel opens and ready to roll? No, but you've got to have something going on there to make them feel safe, and so we've got some ideas for that. So we can go on. And what you need to do, and this gets back to the Houston problem. He had to, all those astronauts had to take what they have, and this authenticity is what sells and what works. There is no other town in this country like Sherrall. So we go to the next one. You can keep going on, but I love this quote. Ed McMahon is, one of the gurus of downtown revitalization with ULI, with the National Main Street Program. But successful communities capitalize on their distinctive, authentic assets: their architecture, their history, their natural surroundings, and homegrown businesses, rather than trying to adopt a new and different identity. Look at, y'all got this. When you talk about architecture, when you talk about history and the natural surroundings here, and you do have some amazing homegrown businesses. We all need a river's edge, right? I mean, but you've got great businesses and they're here. You don't need to be, I've heard a lot of comparisons, comparing y'all to Hartsville and to Florence and to Rockingham and other places. You need to be Sherrall, and you've got what it takes to do that. Here we go, the next one. We can go on and skip through that. That'd be fine. So some of the towns that have done this, have any of y'all ever been to Kinston, North Carolina? Okay, highly recommend it. Kinston's great. Chef and the Farmer, Vivian Howard. Okay, this is her. She turned around a dying town. They thought when the tobacco industry died, they thought they were dead on a dying vine. But Hometown Girl comes and and does well. What they've done is they capitalize on the arts too. So this is an artist who actually, these are made in tobacco fields. So it takes the, so it's like the tobacco farm form in here. So anyway, so this artist is building art and culture based on, what they used to do in their history. So we can go to the next one. And then no doubt about it, hundreds of people come from all over the world every night to eat. Well, this was pre-COVID, but to eat at Chef and Farmer. It truly has turned this place around because they committed to eating. So we go to the next one here. This is one of Fred's favorite ones here too, but Viola Simpson, a farmer who started designing whirligigs in Wilson, North Carolina. Have any of y'all ever been there? All right, it is fantastic. Y'all, this is just a guy who had a lot of extra farm stuff laying around, started turning it into art. They now have a Viola Simpson Park in the middle of Wilson, North Carolina. Local guy, agricultural community, turned it into art. It's bringing people there. They took what they had and they've done something with it. It's beginning to turn their economy around. So again, strong leadership is essential. We've heard that over and over again from y'all too, that leadership has got to be there. The elected leaders, y'all want to make sure they have a vision, that they're willing to take risks and are open to change and building some partnerships. But place matters. Keep going. All right, place, we can go through these pretty quickly. This is just two things. I mean, we didn't have time to go take photos and put them in here, but they will be in the report of all that you have at your fingertips. Again, there are very few communities that we know that have the resources, the unique and authentic resources that y'all have to put together and to build on. And this is what I love about this site. What festival was this?
This is July 4th.
Oh, July 4th. This is what you want to do. This is the type of activity that you want. But just imagine, that hotel is going to be there, and hopefully 98 at least of those rooms are going to be lit because there are people there. And imagine that BC Moore building is lit. It's not shuttered. And all of these buildings down here got businesses going on there and that activity there. So it's something, not that you're always going to be closing off the street, but that's something that happens a lot every day and not just for festivals. Festivals are great to get people there. Okay. We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. And we heard an awful lot about what you want to become. And that's not a complete change from what you are. It's springboarding from what you are right now. And again, just building on who you are and your amazing assets that you have. I'm gonna go, let's see, go through this pretty quickly here. We talk about this, about the 5 Gs of placemaking and downtown development. You've got to grab people's attention, and we can just go through, and there are different ways to grab people's attention. We heard yesterday, you've got to have a great website to grab people's attention. That is, you've got to have a great, Instagram. These are all little businesses that are in teeny tiny little towns, but they're fun, unique businesses are now bringing people to the town to shop and to eat, and because through Instagram and doing that. But you got to grab people's attention. You got to guide them into where you want to go. Y'all got some pretty decent signs all down through here. I mean, they're really wonderful. Let's do more of them and make them unique. Don't send people out of town. That's what some of you towns say. You do a really great job of sending people out of town. We go to the next one here. But again, building on what y'all have, we go to the next one. The other thing is you got to greet people and let them know where they are. And we heard from a lot of you about your gateways and your corridors, that they don't really reflect who y'all are and your history. And I'm going to show you one on here. This is the town of Lexington. We did their master plan several years ago. They didn't want gateways. They wanted to have front porches. So they have front porches now coming in from the interstates and other highways coming into town. And they're unique. This is all stone that comes from Lexington County. But they grab and they say a little bit, some of them got fountains. I think this one, yes, got the fountains in there. Most importantly, you got to give people places to gather. That's where you're lacking right now for the town of Sherrall. We can go on to the next one here. Several of you know what third places are, but this is a phrase that was coined by Ray Oldenburg. First place is your home. Second place is where you work. Third place is where you go and meet people and where you gather. It's where you build community. And third places are becoming more and more important, even though they've been impacted through COVID, the past year. But third places are our coffee shops, our libraries, our restaurants, co-working places, parks. I mean, that's where people go to gather, to be together. And that's where kind of the whole sense of community, spirit of community kind of happens. And so, again, with that gather, you've got to see Sherrall as a place and not a pass-through. Again, we heard over and over again, you want to stop that traffic that's coming through at Powell Street and 9 heading to the beach. You want to stop people. This is a place where people want to stop and they want to experience it. We can keep going here. So again, back to the 4-point approach, and we can just keep going right here. You can see that right there. I thought this was really great because one of the key factors, and I know Fred's going to talk about this, you've got to shop local. We need to, you need to remind the people who live here to shop local. I was in Hartsville a couple of days ago, and this was on their sidewalk. And this is not meant for the tourists who are there. This is meant for the people who live there to remind them, shop local. And so maybe, doing some type of shop local campaign, because all of those people, all of you who own businesses here or doing retail or your professional services or restaurants or bars, the retirees, those who are moving here from other places to get away from cold or high real estate, you can tap into that. Let me just keep going through here pretty quickly. These are some co-working spaces. And but I just want to show you these use large empty buildings or even medium empty buildings. But you've got artists here, you've got makers here, you have entrepreneurs here, you've got other people who are kind of relocated and still working for companies. Put them up in some of these buildings here. Give them a really cool place to kind of come together. These can become third places, but then they're also really amazing places to go work. And this will activate a building and help activate Market Street too, really well. And it's really inexpensive to do. These are some examples of some housing too. We heard housing is a challenge here for workforce or for rentals for people coming in. This is actually in the Cotton District in Starkville, Mississippi. It's a historic mill neighborhood. And the developer, these are called entrepreneurial houses. They're like 650 square foot footprints. Business downstairs, live upstairs. And these turn over like every year and a half, but these are really meant for those who are graduating or coming out of grad school, who are makers or artists or doing a tech startup or something, to kind of move in here. This is the type of housing I think y'all need to start looking at. It's very historic looking, it's pretty new, it's very, very popular, and there are different ways to make this work, but you've got some great locations that, you know, would be walkable here, so put those in. Okay. We can just go through this pretty quick. You can keep going here. So, okay, so placemaking is all about economic development and prosperity. We'll keep going here. We believe that Sherrall's biggest economic engine is providing people with authentic experiences of place, and that's tourism. And this is not just history. It's history. It is nature-based recreation and everything that y'all have here. You've got how many, for 3 to 6 months, people coming out to H. Cooper Black, taking advantage of it. The races, I mean, you name it, you have already got people coming here for a lot of reasons, and you've got to bank on that. So, okay. One of the things that we got really excited about was from Old St. David's Church up to the Culture Long Academy is a half mile. That is a very easy walk. We all walk that without thinking about it all the time. You go to the grocery store, you're walking a half mile. But the fact is, and why we said that this is truly your economy, is within that half mile, Sherrall is one of the few places in this country who can show and tell the story of America's history. From the Native Americans to Revolutionary to Civil War to civil rights to everything in between. You can, and you're doing it well for a lot of things, but there are so many more stories to tell. And this is so compelling. We just know of very few places where you can do it within a half mile walk. This is a weekend, you know, with everything that you can do. I mean, it's pretty exciting what y'all can do here. Okay, keep going. All right, and then design and beautification. I'm about to turn it over to y'all here, but again, beautification and design are very important aspects of the Main Street approach and turning things around. You want to make sure that you are renovating your historic buildings correctly, but you want to make sure that they're ready to accept really great. This is not turning them into museums. This is having them with broadband and all the, you know, everything that we need for the technology for the future and everything. This is also, you know, even putting in new architecture, new design. It doesn't have to, new stuff doesn't have to reflect everything else that's around it. You need to introduce a new architecture here too as well, because that's part of your story there. So this is storefronts, which we'll delve more into that with the report. Okay, we'll go to the next one here. So I think we're about ready. Is this? Yeah, but what you have right now to start with, I mean, you're just at a great place. We've got a great springboard. And so I think, Rick, this is where we're going to start turning it over to you for the streetscaping. I think go ahead to the next one. Is that right? Yes. So I'm going to turn it over to them to show you some really great stuff.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Well, we understand we're not the first ones that have ever been here for a master plan for you guys. So we're not here to recreate the wheel by any means. You've had some other studies that have made recommendations. This is kind of a connectivity map. Our focus for this process was going to be for the downtown area, but we got a lot of comments about the gateways and stuff outside of downtown, so we wanted to at least reinforce some of those recommendations that have been here previously. See the blue dots, these are all connectivity maps to some of your key features in the city. Southside Park down on the bottom right, up to Arrowhead Park on the top left. And the blue dots are the connections that have been made. So you've made some progress since some of the earlier studies and their recommendations. The orange dots still need some work to get those connections made. But again, you're making some progress, and we can do a lot more. And greenways and trails are a huge tourist barrier. People love getting on trails and
going, especially if there's a nice destination at the end of those paths. So again, our focus is on the downtown area, and we're going to show you some images. Now, these are conceptual. Don't start picking out the wallpaper before we get the rooms all designed, because these are just, again, conceptual and rough, just to give you some thoughts of what could happen in the future. We had a lot of comments about the existing street trees. The Chinese elms, it's a very popular street tree. It does well in urban conditions. There's quite a few cities that have them in the downtown area. I think they're a fine street tree for any place. They do really well in urban conditions. As they get older, you can limb them up, so you get the clear views to the storefronts, and so that's kind of our recommendation. I think you're fine. I wouldn't recommend taking those out and replacing them. So we can get into that further if we want to later on. Trees are the most controversial thing in the streetscape project. So 2nd Street, this is your existing conditions. North 2nd Street, see Town Hall on the left, Ultra Long Academy on the right. The south end of 2nd Street, which is nice. You have angular parking, 2-lane road. It has a nice feel to it with the street trees. This piece of 2nd Street is the 4-lane section. It doesn't feel as nice. It doesn't feel as welcoming. We'd like to propose considering doing the same concept, taking the angular parking up. You're going to double your parking on the street front. At the intersection of Kershaw Street, look at doing the decorative mast arms, get the power underground there at the intersection. Somebody should get an award, though, for the past. Your downtown has no power lines overhead. I hope somebody got awarded for that. You've got a great situation. That would be fairly inexpensive to just get those down at the intersection, take them halfway up on up 2nd Street, but have that intersection as your gateway into the downtown district and really give it more of a dimension in the downtown area. Go ahead. So again, this is that intersection of Kershaw and 2nd, Ultra Long corner, mast arms, crosswalks. So this is the view of existing conditions. You see your wayfinding signage. Get those cleaned up and really make a huge impact on the entrance into downtown. We had a lot of comments about the parking. You've got a great asset, pretty large parking lot right in the downtown district, serving Market Street and the 2nd. Problem we heard a lot of is lack of visibility, lack of known access points into it. So the existing access points are the yellow circles there, the secondary one, they're halfway up Front Street. We got some recommendations. We talked about, is there a building that could come down and make it more of a mid-block, like that, more of a mid-block Market Street access from the parking lot, but really wasn't a building that we felt like we could recommend taking out. We never like to take out buildings unless it's a situation where it's gone or it's on its way out and it makes no sense to keep it. So we decided to recommend improving your access points that you have. So this is it's Marlborough Street and 2nd Street here. So what we could do is up at the entrance, have a little archway with some parking signage, maybe some of the Canterbury string lights come down and really create kind of a more comfortable, safe pedestrian access in there too. So what that could look like is this is the existing conditions. And then something, and again, don't get caught up in the details of that arch or anything. It's just conceptual. We still have the parking, nothing's affected. Just makes it a more inviting entrance into, and again, identifies those locations. And you can multiply these gateways at the other gateways too. So I hand it over to
Good. Before I start on what I'm going to talk about, I have to tell you, like my wife and I, almost every weekend for years, 3 weekends a month, go out and take a trip. We'll go 90 miles from home, And so we go to a lot of small cities. We always go to the small cities. We always eat in a local restaurant at lunch. And my wife has an antique business, so we're out looking for antiques. So we go to towns that have antiques a lot of times and places that we can pick. But so I have been thinking about some of those towns within that radius of Columbia. Aiken is just a beautiful town. It's amazing what Aiken does and the economy of Aiken, and they preserved it out so well. And they have all of that equestrian kind of activity around there. Recently, my sister-in-law asked, they were retiring, they wanted to move somewhere, not particularly happy living up around Clemson, and where should we go? I said Aiken. They had moved to Aiken 4 months ago. Just love it. Fabulous place. Camden, a city that y'all are closely related to. Camden, the same thing, kind of a lot of wealth, the equestrian background. Apparently the same designer, the same guy who designed the cities, both cities. Hartsville, one that there's always a lot of comparison, just amazing little place in Hartsville. As long as I've been in the Main Street or downtown revitalization activity for 35 years. And 35 years ago, Hartsville was working hard on doing something with their downtown. All downtowns go up and down, but they have really been plugging at it, and they've got a great corporate partner there. And then come here to Sherrall. I've been thinking about it all week, and I've hit on the word yesterday or the day before. I think you have the most charming town in the state. It is fabulous. You feel so good when you get here. It is just an amazing little community. You got problems, you got vacancies. It is just gorgeous. And why it is so charming is all of the history that is here. When you pull into this intersection here and see this building and Market Hall and the great B.C. Moore building at the end of the street, which frames this street, it is just really an amazing place. And I think a lot of people who ride through here just readily recognize that. We are all really surprised that the community doesn't market itself that way. It doesn't seem to recognize that to the rest of the world or even internally. And I think that is a really important thing from an economic development and a community development standpoint. In practicing economic development for 35 years now, it is always community, charm, character, buildings, interesting places, parks, art, history. Those are the kinds of things that you have to play up on the uniqueness of your community before you can do economic development in conjunction with all of those things. So you got your large project, and I've dealt with a lot of large projects and communities that bring in that panacea project, and it is never the panacea. You always have to build on that. So I've been thinking a lot about what you need to do to prepare for that hotel, which is about a year away. And so here are some ideas for a 6-month plan. One thing that we have noticed as we've been here talking to groups, and some of these people are here, it has been really interesting to see the pent-up demand of people who want to come and develop buildings here. They understand that this is an important place. We have this wonderful new investment coming. What can we do to do projects around here? And so I've had a lot of conversations with people about some different ways to finance, and I'll get into that just a little bit. But we think it's important to take advantage of that while the time is hot. And we're going to propose that we bring together some local developer types or investor types for a little training, and it really could be just a few hours to take a look at some really good redeveloped buildings using some of the federal and state tax credits and development incentives that can help make a project work. And so right away, I think we should do that. There's some people in this room who are interested in that, and a surprising number of people who we have met that are maybe new people in town who retired and come here and now see an opportunity for a business. We think as a part of this improvement, you have a good facade program in place. It is a nice program. It's $20,000. I think you have to delve out to do painting of buildings and those sorts of things. It's time to use that, put all that money out on the street in the next 6 months so that a year from now those projects are done, and maybe expand that a little bit to do some things, because you have these on Market Street, between here and BC Moore Building, it's about 30% vacancy, and most of those appear to not be occupiable buildings. So those need some sort of a site screening in them. So we're proposing that you create a program to put maybe community cultural activity posters or local art or other things in those buildings, or something to site screen out what those buildings look like, and along with that, do a cleanup program so the city could offer to haul away the junk that you have in your storefront, so that looks a little better. Just little incremental steps to try to make the place a little bit better. And in 6 months, when all that money is gone, I think city council should be prepared to come back and fund that again. And yes, it's going to be in the middle of the budget year, but there are going to be more. It's definitely, people like to build when they see their neighbors improving. Usually they improve themselves. So really good opportunity here. Lights are so important, and you need to start working on that. Merchant training, I'm disappointed. I went by one store today, and they had shelving up against their front window and curtains in the front window. I thought, what a missed opportunity. You're displaying merchandise, but the pedestrian walking down the street can see it. So I hope that you will consider doing a couple of little local Main Street sponsored training programs that will bring a professional in to help you learn how to merchandise your windows, just do some improvements there. There's some good opportunities here. There's some great examples of people who merchandise really, really well. You go to the next one. In that next period of time, there's just not enough marketing. Irene was talking about checking into that hotel. Well, people, when I check into a hotel, I want to know what is in the immediate proximity that I can do. And so I think that marketing package needs to be put together in that second 6 month period of time. I want to know, where am I going to go out and have dinner or have a glass of wine, maybe hear some music? How can I walk down to the river? You know, it's almost, there is almost no recognition of the river. And as you know, it's like 2 blocks away, but there's almost no recognition that it's there. You can easily come and visit here and completely miss the river. And so some of those maps that show what is here, and create all of that. And that could be used at the new hotel, but used for all of the downtown merchants. There could be advertising, there could be sponsorships. I hope there's a coupon that you get a free, dessert or iced tea when you go and dine somewhere. I think there's a real interesting opportunity here. I asked Rob yesterday if I could get a tour guide to meet me and give me a 2-hour tour of the river. And he said, well, I can find you a fishing guide who would be glad to do it personally. I think there's an opportunity there for somebody to do a tour of the historic district. Right now, when the house district is just the most stunning it is ever because of the azaleas and everything, it's amazing to me that there aren't people out there touring, and that's something to promote and bring attention to, and all through the year. Getting down to the river, finding the natural tourism and the historic tourism. And Irene mentioned all of the different pieces of American history that are represented here, all really close together. I'd like to see more outside activity on the streets, and I know there's some restaurants that have dining outside. Rob and I have talked about the possibility of encouraging that by maybe waiving the fees. The fees are very, very small. You have to You have to do insurance for your business if you're using the public right of way. But then very small fees, maybe waive those fees for the next period of time while the hotel is coming in to promote more outside activity. Everybody loves to ride by and see glittery lights and people sitting outside dining and that sort of thing. And then some of the businesses that I think we need to realize that the world of retail has changed. There is no such thing as regular retail anymore. We had some mentions of bringing in, a department store. But it's just not going to happen. The department stores are closing all over the country. So what are the businesses that can come here? I think there are a lot. I think the number one thing is that for now, for the next period of time, as the retail and business disruption that is going on now, there are going to have to be office uses in storefronts. And that's going to be providing businesses, and it's not forever, and maybe retail will make a change. I think for retail, there are going to be opportunities, and I've been really surprised, some of the newer residents and current longtime residents who own specialty stores in downtown, and people move into the community, see a need or an opportunity, or want to start doing something that will benefit the community and open little stores. And I think that's going to be your source for those specialty retail. I think you need to start reaching out to surrounding communities that have, say for instance, a restaurant operator that already has 2 locations within a 50-mile radius of here, and start working on those people. Just create relationships and try to make it known that we have opportunities, we have the new hotel coming, and see if you can attract some of those. The third business is a lot easier to create than the second in a chain of restaurants or other businesses. Those are your opportunities, along with things like a co-working environment, antique shops. Antique shops, you have one, this really, really nice. You need to have 3, you need to have 4, because that is something that appeals to tourists, is something that somebody on a business travel. So think about it this way. Business travelers during the week, in the weekend, you're trying to attract my wife and I to come and spend 2 nights and eat in the restaurants and cruise around, look at the historic sites, or the people who are out at the park for an equestrian event, come in for dinner, and then on Sunday morning, go to one of the restaurants for a gospel music brunch. How fun would that be? Or a jazz event. And so, no, that's good. You can move to the next one. So far into the future. And so some of these, think about now over the next year, but for the future, I think you need to consider moving the whole economic development thing up several notches. Consider creating some sort of economic development arm of the city that is assisted by the city, but is arm's length from the city, that can help promote businesses. You can do a lot of things with an organization like that. My own organization has a fund, a revolving loan fund, and can do a very short-term loan to somebody who is redeveloping a building. It's very hard to go to a bank for a rehab loan. And so you can come to my organization, borrow $150,000 for 6 months or 8 months at a very 2% interest rate or something, and then pay that back when they do their final loan on the development. You do your final loan, that includes paying back my organization. I think you need to think about something like that, or money that can be in some of the historic preservation tax credit projects that I'm not going to get into in detail, but those require a lot of upfront money, but then tax credit money flows in after the project is completed. There are a lot of opportunities for small amounts of money that can be put into that as upfront equity that your fund could get back in a year when all of the construction is done. I think you need to think about how to fund that. And some of that is going to be local money from the local governments, the city and the county. Don't leave the county out as a source of that. And then maybe even foundations, local industries, those kinds of things that may be willing to come in for a piece of that. 2 years ago, in this room, probably some of you were here, we had a really nice meeting with the South Carolina Main Street program. And there was a young man who is an engineer at one of the local industries. And he stood up and said, you know, you have a real problem because I don't want to live here because there are no girls here. There's a big laugh around the room. But, you know, young people, you attract these people into that area, and they would love to live close to where they work, but they need good places to live, good residential housing, and they need the nightlife. They're young people, they want to have fun, and those guys find girls, and so, but the housing, there seems to be a big void in residential. And so, are there opportunities to do upper story conversions into nice apartments that could accommodate those folks? And there are a lot of tools to help get that done. I think there are opportunities for the other age group also. People who are in the historic district, who have these enormous houses and reach a point where maybe that's not appropriate and it's hard to keep up anymore. Maybe there should be people looking at the possibility of building some really nice patio homes that are high-end, really nice high-end patio homes that are a transitional housing opportunity here. Infill for downtown, converting the backs of storefronts. You know, people don't need 5,000-foot storefronts anymore, so maybe there's an apartment behind that opens up into the parking lot of the alley. And so start looking for those. Apply for a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency. This is something that I have used as one of those tools for years and years, and I've identified some personal sites. But the deal is when a developer wants to develop a building, the very first cost is environmental cost. No bank is going to lend any money if there is a perception of an environmental problem in the building. And that can cost, just right off the top, the very first study is $3,000 to $5,000. Well, suppose you have a fund that can pay that first $3,000 to $5,000. If there is any kind of problem, if there's asbestos, yes, there will be asbestos. If there is some kind of, a lot of old buildings were used for dry cleaning operations or for farm chemicals, all those kinds of things. Any of those, this fund can help pay for all of that assessment of those environmental things. So go out, I know of 2 companies right off that will write the grant for the city for free and start pursuing that as just one more little fund to help make things happen. Begin a business recruitment plan, and I mentioned creating relationships. Don't need to hit them up now because you're not ready now, but what about relationships so in the future, when the right building, the right time comes, you can incentivize getting that business, that key, beautiful business that you've always wanted here. I have noticed and have been really interested the Culture Academy. Just as the minute when we rode by it months ago, I said, wow, this is so interesting. This is another piece of history, and this is Reconstruction era history, reaching out to the African-American community, education, and it doesn't exist as an institution anymore, but that facility is there. And I think it's really important to extend the historic district to include that, and start including the African-American community, African-American history in telling the story of this community. It's really important. It's inclusiveness. It's rising all boats in the community. That African-American commercial district that's around it, formerly African-American commercial district, is very important as a part of the story. I think it's important to bring it. And I think history is going to be the driver of your future success. You're going to be meeting the business people who are coming in, and so that's good. That's going to provide your weekday traffic, but you have to build up that the reputation for being the most historic small town, charming small town in the state, and bringing people here for a quick weekend getaway to stay in the guest house or stay in the hotel. I'm bringing my in-laws back when my mother-in-law, who is almost 80, is a little better, because they're from this area. They want to come back. The guest house is like the perfect place for them. And build on that and build your economy around the amazing history of this year. Lots more ideas, lots more to bring you in the written report. And that's kind of the core of what I'm thinking for your community. Rob Ryan.
Yeah, just to hear. So I always like ending with this, and I think Sherrall's, it's a testament to this. But when we build, let us think we build forever, and let it not be for present delight or present use alone. Your forefathers did this, and the mothers before. But I love this very ending that, when people look at what has been done, they can say, "See, this our fathers and mothers did for us." And I think, again, Sherrall is what it is today because those who started this beautiful, charming town really did it with the idea of building forever. And that reflects the community's values, and you need to continue that. I mean, you're just at a great place. You're at a very exciting place. You've got a few things that you need to kind of do a little bit better and redevelop and bring some new life in, engage some new people, and tell your whole story here, because it is truly phenomenal. But you do want the next generation, or your children or your grandchildren, to want to come back here and say, "Wow, this our mothers and our fathers did for us to make sure that we still have this beautiful, charming place." That is going to build and sustain a really amazing, authentic economy for y'all. So this is just a very quick overview for what you've helped bring to light for us. And we can't thank you enough for all of your willingness to share your ideas and to be very candid. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back. We've got to take this and create the report. Y'all will get a draft to review and provide feedback. Our hope is that the town leaders here are going to take this and adopt it. So it's important that y'all give some feedback later on, adopt it, and start. I mean, y'all can start some of this stuff tonight or tomorrow with some conversations or whatever. Start it. But again, a year from now, we want to come back and be celebrating what you have accomplished. And that, again, that golden goose, you're going to be ready for it. And you're going to create, I mean, it's that hotel, and not only just that hotel, but all these other businesses and your existing businesses and the guest house, everything are going to thrive more because of what you're going to start doing in the next little bit. All right, do y'all have any questions for us right now? I know it's a lot to kind of take in right now, and we left a lot out. Let me get you, yes.
And I know this was brought up yesterday in a couple of meetings. I noticed there were no 18-wheelers in any of the pictures. And there really needs to be a study, because we sat on the front porch in an hour period, there were over 75 diesel 18-wheelers. And we love to dine outside. We love to entertain outside. But nothing will kill outside down dining faster than 18-wheelers and diesel fuel on your pants. And so just a suggestion that is included in the challenges. And we moved here because we knew Toronto is on its way up. And it is a charming city. And it does have everything right. But the 18-wheelers and there has to be a compromise between, the city leaders and the amount of 18-wheelers that go through
is definitely in the challenges and everything is will be included. So, but thank you for bringing that home because that's good. And for other people to hear that too as well. So thank you. All right, you have a question.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking, really, how do you actually generate sufficient interest? Because it's got to come from the public. No, it's not about it, public going behind it. Over the period of time that I lived in Shore, I thought back, the public decided they wanted a new library. We raised something that was something with the area across the road, St. Daniel Park. People came together, they did want it. It had to be led. It had to be pushed. But the public rapidly came behind. All the money came from the public. We've been going around, we've highlighted to us that there are a number of potential historic buildings around. Point out one or two in the survey you're going to give us that you think were the ones that in fact we will concentrate on. Particularly getting perhaps the owners of those buildings to either share basis with a group that puts money into it. And that brings everybody in yet again into a community where the people actually feel that they own part of it and will participate in it. But you've done it, you've been out. I mean, I'm going to be a bit long on the tooth for being you've done it since you turned around this town. But you've been really on a number of things and the historical side. So then
Well, it's funny, we were going to have some sign-up sheets that basically said all of you couldn't leave the room until you signed up to help with something here, but we won't do that. Although we might do that. Your point is so well taken. So what we believe, and again, this is just kind of really drafty, and we're going to refine this, but we do believe that Market Street is number one priority right now because of the hotel coming in at the end. Now, and I want to make this really clear, that's where you need to focus your energy immediately and say for the next little bit, and you'll never stop that. We believe there are lots of other areas of town that need, but you've got to phase all of that, and you've got to have some wins. And we believe focusing on Market Street and that BC Moore building at the end, that wonderful exclamation point at the end, that is just phenomenal. And we're going to show the, crossing over highway, the bypass 9, so it's going to be pedestrian friendly, getting over there to the parking and going down, to Riverside Park. And what Fred is talking about, that has got to be public and private investors rolling up their sleeves, a group of you. If all of you, those of you who are interested right now and have ideas, let Rob know. Because we're charging him really and truly with putting together that group immediately to start pushing that redevelopment right there. So
what Noel was saying about area participation from interested citizens, it would be great, I'm sure Rob and Mike Spell, and maybe the city council, will come together and say, these are projects we want to accomplish. This is how much GPA money we get. This is how much grant money we get. But we need a 20% match from the public. We need to know those things.
And we do have a target list of businesses that we've identified that will be maybe in the report or maybe just in communication with a property that you need to target. But we have a list of those key buildings that look like they either desperately need or are good opportunities. I wanted to mention though some other public buildings. I've been here what, 4 times for 4 or 5 times just for these kinds of meetings. And Market Hall's I've never been in Market Hall. Just a couple of minutes ago, I walked up the steps and it peered in the upstairs, just curious about it, and it's never been open. I've never gotten into the Lyceum. I've never gotten into the little law office over across the street. Some of those kind of, I would love to go in. Old St. David's or New St. David's or some of these incredible churches, they are not readily publicly accessible. And that's got to change. You can't have them open all the time, but they need to be, they're real attractions. They're fabulous. They just need to be there.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think it's only once a year that they have a carol service at Old St. David's. And the group that normally come in from Florence. Why do you come from Florence? Because the acoustics in that building are absolutely wonderful.
He's talking about there's an annual choral service
Yeah.
at Christmas at Old St. David's, yeah, and it's an outside one.
It's always interesting that they come, and I'm willing to come every year, because they appreciate the acoustics of that.
I know y'all got some choir too.
Right, somebody mentioned last night about acoustics. Well, we were last night, nothing you can do about it. The acoustics is terrible.
Yeah.
But, so.
All right, I got a comment, yes.
Yes, the gentleman that just spoke, brought up in towards what I'd like to get some understanding about. I heard a lot about the physical structure, makeup of the city in terms of what's here. Now, before we talked about this idea of community, in your, when you have ideas, building community, bringing the population that exists in the city together, building that community such that everybody buys into what's planned, including all persons in the community. Yeah, I didn't hear specifics on that. Is that a
No,
function?
you didn't. You're absolutely correct. It is a necessity.
Is that a function?
Every part of this community has to be comfortable with coming downtown for every festival, has to have businesses that will attract them regularly into the downtown. That inclusiveness, bringing together all sectors of the community, it's everywhere, all over this country. We've got to do a better job with it. It is a necessity to make this downtown work.
Yeah, and I would,
Is that a part of your input?
Yes, I mean, we're not giving you specific recommendations on how to redo a festival, but we are talking about that need for full inclusiveness of, we're not festival promoters and that sort of thing, but it is absolutely necessary.
and I'm just going to answer that a little bit more because the purpose of this master plan was to look at the physical aspects of downtown. I mean, that's the primary, that's the primary focus. But I do want to tell you, with that, two different things. One of the important elements of the Main Street program, why that's important, and the town is invested in that, has to do again with this volunteer structure with all the committees that have to go together. It has to be inclusive of everybody in the community. So in order for this Main Street approach to work, the town is going to have to reach out and engage. Now, and I do want to say too, so with those, so the entire community has to put effort forward for this too as well. So the approach is there. The town and I, kind of go out there. So in selling this master plan and to make it happen and to establishing the priorities, too, that the town needs to do a very good job of getting this plan out and getting input on what those priorities are, to making sure the specific projects. So that's another way to build community, because they've got to, and it may mean that not all the presentations are probably not going to happen right here. It may mean that the presentations, we even heard go out and talk to the high school seniors because it matters to them, because that's the future that you're wanting to come back here. It may mean going and doing this again at the community center or at Coulter or at a couple of the churches to go where the people are. I mean, you know, so the community has to put forth the effort to provide their input and to let council know what their priorities are for this. But again, I mean, it does, when we talk about the entire history of this, you know, telling that whole story from Old St. David's down to Coulter Long, again, that's the downtown focus for this, you know, for this area. But that's telling the entire community story and history there. So I hope that answers.
You answered the question right
Okay.
there, it's the city.
Okay,
The city.
so, what now?
If I understood you, it is up to the city to build that cohesiveness, that community that will support what we need to.
The city does it, but I will tell you, every member of the community has got to be willing to step up and get involved and get engaged too,
Right,
because
right.
it's,
That's not your responsibility.
No.
That's the city.
right. So,
It's the community.
so, yes,
Thank you.
Because my name is Bob, who I do a high out day, and I just been listening to everybody. I listen to the person that you take the call about talking about. I have a business that we can start on 7th Street as well. We have a couple other brothers. We have a restaurant, brother Elsie Muhammad, he's got a restaurant coming over there. I got 2 nonprofits that's already established. And we were able to try to do about community, drive schools like we were talking about. The youth like these businesses are, and how a lot of little businesses to a lot of towns so that we can bring in the community. You know, the great job, I like what y'all talking about. It sounds very, you know, encouraging to our small community. I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. I know y'all probably seen me before, or even heard about me before. And I got 2 nonprofits. I know brother Ron, he's a great guy, and I know my church and there, they all great. So I'm looking forward to working with my hometown. I've been here 57 years. I grew up here. I know the history. I know your history. I know my history. And it's better than you said, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to provide information to the people. About our people.
good. They're gonna need you, no doubt about it. So, thank you. Thank you. There was a hand up. Yes,
And I'm gonna need this thing.
that's okay. That's okay.
But I'm just concerned about communication, because just like these meetings, I see people, that I normally have seen. And I just wonder if you're also gonna suggest ways to reach.
Amen. Amen.
Reach everybody, so that it's really from the bottom up and not from the top down.
So,
Any suggestions about communications?
um,
Because it's very hard, as a new person, I don't have an accent, that I don't know what's going on in town. It's in the paper, maybe the day after, it's kind of that sort of thing.
I will tell you, well, I mean, we can make some suggestions.
Okay.
Again, that's kind of not all the scope. We're gonna make suggestions. It's just kind of part of what we do, and part of that, again, I keep going back to the Main Street approach, because again, that is that framework that when you, because a big part of that is promotions. That's communications. That promotions is not just putting flyers and ads out there. It's building that communication network and that outreach network to the whole community there. I will tell you this much. So again, this is not just Rob's job or Mike Smith's jobs, or, you know, they are the staff for it, but this works because it's volunteers. They've got to be groups. There are going to be committees. There's going to be a board who are going to help shape what that is. So am I hearing that you want to be on that? You know, but, and I'm kind of laughing about that, but not really. But I would say, so I'll give you some examples. What we have found works for us in a lot of different instances. We do go into the high schools a lot of time and do presentations. The other thing that I will say, this is a very abbreviated version, too, of a master plan. So we've had a very abbreviated time to get in here and get some stuff together. You know, you could, there's some master planning processes that take a whole year to work out, but this is such a great first step that the town has invested in. We go into churches. a lot. And we do that for a lot of different reasons. Number one, it's where people feel comfortable going. It is, churches are usually located in communities where you need to go. And they are more willing to, again, to come there to their church. We use church bulletins a lot. So I'm telling y'all, these are, again, this is not just for the, y'all keep this in mind when stuff gets out, using church bulletins. Social media is fine, but social media can also stir up a whole lot too. But I know that's there. Putting information in water bills or electric bills, that's another way that goes out. You send out regular emails. So there's not going to be one way to do it. But and I know, were you talking about the website last night? Or yes, I thought so. I thought it was you. And having a really great website. So anyway, it's going to take a lot of you helping shape what that's going to look like. I will tell you though, we were the survey that went out. How many of y'all filled out the survey? All right, if y'all hadn't done, you got to fill out that survey. So, because I think it went out as of yesterday afternoon, there were 221 respondents for that survey. So we haven't looked at, which is great. I can't wait to get back to the office tomorrow and see, how many more people have responded. So, I mean, that tells you, number one, people are interested and they want to give their feedback. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, but again, this has got to be a community effort. And when you talk about priorities, all of you have got to weigh in. I mean, we can sit here and say Market Street is the priority, and we've given you our reasons why, and the BC Moore building and other things, but the ultimate decision is y'all's. And y'all have got to help let council know where y'all think it's most important to make those first efforts of it, to really focus the work over the next 6 months. So we hope you agree with us. We think it's, but y'all, again, it's your community. There might be something there, but you've got to stay engaged and you've got to communicate and work with council and staff to make sure they're making the right decisions and then get engaged. So yeah, I've got here for minutes. Yeah.
Y'all are doing a great job, and I thank Rob and the community leaders. But if you can make a suggestion, in some committees, they're the same people over and over and over again. And there really needs to be a new infusion of people, those that have the history and those who have the talent and outside sources to bring to the committee. But I found on a lot of these committees, it is exclusive, it is not inclusive. And that goes back to communication, that a lot of people in the city are not engaged in social media. They don't have Facebook, they don't have it, I don't have Instagram. If it's not in the link or if it's not on the radio, they don't know about it. And if you're not listening or reading at the right time, you don't know about it. And communication is always the biggest failure in just about every life we have. So again, these are the same people that were at the meeting yesterday.
I see a few new faces. Yeah, but I get what you're right.
We're interested, and I'm going to encourage you to have a sign-up sheet before people walk out. If they are interested, have a sign-up sheet. And even though we've captured that, is it going to go anywhere? Is it just going to collect dust on somebody's desk? And they can put, what talents do you have?
I think it's great because we have a sign-up sheet here now. This is very easy. and I will tell you this much, I have a total thing, I think we all do. This is not going to just stop here. I mean, Rob's going to make sure of that. It is great. So I'm going to just go ahead and put this here. If y'all want, sign your name, put your email, and where you would like to help, or what idea that you heard that you want to help. Very easy. Rob, I'm sorry to give you something else to do, but yeah. This is going to help. Got him back here, okay.
So, at the meeting yesterday afternoon, at the community center, I was really encouraged by the comments of Roger from the Chamber of Commerce. This is Plan A, and Roger was mentioning this for Plan B. And I think Plan B could be working, but to some extent, be working out a path to go down the road. But we need to take advantage of that road. And Roger was talking in terms of not only developing land back behind BC Moore center and all that, clear out someday, I'm gonna have to do. And that would be to what Elvis question was about. It would be like the jazz festival, it'd be all inclusive, every, to use the facility. It'd be very attractive for families, picnics and family reunions and things like that. But some development of the river should take place along, maybe after we get to downtown.
And what you said is a great point. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, again, this is just kind of the first step of a very conceptual master plan. And we've suggested kind of where we think you need to be doing in the next 12 months. The hope is get something good going right now that is going to, that, you know, like, you know, again, we're thinking it's Market Street in the BC Moore building. But, you know, 12 months from now, start putting pressure on town council and everybody that, all right, it's time for us to go to the next level of planning. Because Market Street is working and we've got all this activity now with the hotel. So let's go to the next level. So it is, you never stop revitalizing. You never stop developing, you know, and that's, so I think it's a right on point that just be ready to say, okay, what's next? And be there to support it. So, because that is a great idea. And we believe getting on that river is just a no-brainer and a gold mine. I mean, hands down. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I like to know how to get this survey.
To what now?
To survey.
Oh, survey. Okay. You don't. Okay.
I like to get assistance, I can figure it out.
Come see me.
Okay,
Yeah.
Also, the township law has over $12 million left. There's no excuse, and a lot of people here are rich in this town. You know, that's a lot of old money. So there's no excuse for y'all to do it right now. So I'm glad you're here. Because we need to do a brand new school right here. We need to visit every place in Sherrod. Sherrod is the greatest town in the world. And that's what we're going to let the whole world know. So I'm looking forward to what we need to learn. That's why I started this on top. If you don't do it, I promise you, I will do it myself.
All right, you got a comment to make.
Yes, it was raised yesterday evening that all these things cost money. And I made the point that one thing that wouldn't cost money will be something that in fact you're asking us to lead, and I'm going to reverse it and ask you to lead. And that is you've been brought in by the town to do this exercise. Came up 10 years ago, charrette people. I don't know, we don't have anything out of that at all. I honestly don't think we've got anything out of it. Somebody came about, I can't think of something now, well, I can put my finger on, that came out of it, that would benefit the town. What I'm going to ask you to do is, when you put your screen forward about what you're asking us to do, ask, first of all, step forward and do what they. The 8 wheelers coming through the town. We've had no reason to stop it. They're banned from going through. They're still coming through. All over the place. Nothing. Signs all over town. $1,000 fine for throwing up rubbish or you're in jail, whatever it is. I will guarantee that nobody has ever been fined $1,000, but we still go out and pick up trash that somebody's throwing it out all the time. Those are seen, and it can be found. And with the land that we had at the time, many thousands of acres that people know, we used to have trash dumped in our land. We went and collected it, we sorted it, and we always found the name. All these shortcuts that you just talked about, the trashy, the gardens and things like that, that's not up to us to do it. It's up to the town to bang on the door of those answers. So the lady said, from the bottom down, I said from the top down, let the top start, and shows what they can do, and let people follow.
Should mention related to that, Rob, last week, tell me about your enforcement issues. You sent out some letters about enforcement. related to some of the really big problems in the downtown. Only last week, offering some incentives to those building owners. So carrot and stick at the same time. I had a conversation today with a property owner in the downtown, and her response was, please have Rob come by and take a look at my couple of buildings, and if there are any problems, I want to fix them. I'll do them right away. Just let me know what they are, and I'll do it. So it is, people do need to need enforcement and community rise from the base of people telling your next door neighbor, you know, it's not looking so good, and what can you do about it? I'm going to do mine. How about if you do yours?
To include raising some buildings, tearing down, pulling up some. There are a lot of buildings that nobody used to get, that laugh at it, if you build those.
The worst over in this town, the hotel is coming. We tried for ages and ages, and the town to do something. Chase it out to do something about it, nothing happened. And so the worst over this town. Maybe that's what they're done.
Now it's gonna be. So, yes.
I was just gonna add,
It's sad to say that this is getting a habit. Anyway, it's pretty good. But I mentioned this yesterday, and I've heard other people say it, but somebody just now said something about enforcing things. And now, one of the exciting things for me is always, I just get a kick of driving around or walking around this town. That doesn't matter where I'm at, I just walk around. And I do that quite often. But one of the saddest things is back over here on Second Street, I mean, not Second Street, but, I'm still learning the streets. But like for almost 3 blocks, I guess homeowners have put, please slow down, yellow signs. And I just think that's terrible. I mean, it's sad that they have to do that. But that shouldn't be that way. That should be enforced. There should be something, and you know what? There's ways to do it, and it happens all the time. And that's the one thing I think when somebody said enforcing, that's important. Because by enforcing things, you're validating that this is important. This is our place. We're proud of it. We want to enjoy it for everyone, not just people that live here, but people that come visit. And I think that's pride of ownership is just part of that. So, that statement about,
Well, I like what you said too, and I've never heard it put that way, that enforcing is validating that this town is important. And sometimes people don't quite see it that way, but it really is a way of saying, our values and everything that we have on board, so it's a good way. Did you have something you want to say?
Okay, well, just going to say, I'm rather disappointed at the fact that some of the council aren't here today, all the things that the people are saying.
Don't be too concerned about that. We've had many meetings with mayor, council, and senior staff over the last few days. Constant meetings, several times a day. And sometimes they like to stay away just so people can have their conversations and input to the planning.
Rob, look, let's all look at the town of Rob. We will make sure that the mayor will make sure that my spirit and council is out on this. Rob.
Okay, Rob is going, it's 6:27, so a little bit later than we had said we would go, but I just, speaking for all of us, if y'all don't mind, I want to thank all of you. Your comments back to us and questions tonight have really been great. We've still got some more work to do to get it Rob, but again, we just want to encourage each one of you to sign up, to stay engaged and spread the word, and to really get involved, because Rob's going to need y'all, the town's going to need y'all to do this. And yes, the town's got a lot that they've got to do too on this as well, but thank you very, very much.
Thank y'all for coming. Please do sign on your way out, and love to hear from you guys.
Yes, sir. I have business card. Hey, how you doing? All right. Yeah.